What a damn week it has been to be a Bills fan, right? You read that title correctly, ladies and gentlemen. This is exactly what the media is saying about the Buffalo Bills. And as I'm sure many of you are aware, there is one topic that has been circulating around the media. And what I'm doing is I am planning on touching on that. I really am. And if you know me, I always like walking the line, but the more and more details that come out on this scenario, the more I'm just thankful that it's over with. So we're definitely going to touch a little bit on Matt Araiza once we ended up sending him off. And now we're on the lookout for a new punter for our special team situation. We're talking about Cole Beasley, the toothless wonder. He is once again going through a tweet storm of literally just talking shit, right? So we're going to talk about that, had to do with the COVID protocols that the NFL put in. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the 53-man roster, right? With each and every single one of you. By 4 p.m. tomorrow, the Buffalo Bills need to bring their roster down to 53. This morning, they did announce just a couple of cuts, but I figured what we're going to do for one of the last segments of the show is really just pull up a roster list, and we're going to figure this out together and see who exactly is going to make this team. I would say that probably the most controversial rooms is the wide receiver room, number one, because even our depth guys have looked damn good in the preseason. Running back might get a little tricky. And then same with defensive line. So super excited to knock out all of that. 3 main segments of the show. And then the last part of the show is going to be where you guys have an opportunity to come onto this stream with me. You can ask me a question. We can talk about things. I'll probably pick your brain on a couple of things, but that is exclusively up to my Patreon members. That is posted, linked right at the very top of this live chat. If you are a Patreon member, you will notice on my home screen that I have dropped the link where you can join this. So certainly feel free to check that out. As many of you know, the best way to support this channel is simply just by smashing the fuck out of that like button, ladies and gentlemen. Best way. But if you ever want to go the extra mile and then have an opportunity to come on and shoot the shit with me on lives, then with Patreon, that is the absolute best way to go. Let's go ahead and run through the chat real fast, see what is going on with Bills Mafia today, with the Dom Mafia. Matt C., what's happening, Dan? Did you see that Josh was 13th in the top 100? You know what? I lied. There are 4 segments. There are absolutely 4 segments today, okay? We are going to literally roast everybody that was listed above Josh Allen, okay? So that's the 4th segment, as a matter of fact. Thank you for absolutely pissing me off. No. But I mean, we'll get into it once we get into that. But let me go ahead and write that down real fast. Josh Allen, number 13. I did do that, dude. I was absolutely fuming. Spin comes in and says that we're currently at 73 players. We certainly are. Yeah. So definitely have a great show, guys. Thank you for all of the usual suspects that have joined my live stream. And then, you know what? I figured we might as well go on ahead and just address the elephant in the room. Now, there's been news for days, right, of different accusations that came out of what happened at San Diego State University. And the more and more that came out, because say that you follow me on Twitter, the second that the news dropped, I did sort of try and go out there and be as objective as humanly possible, right? Because when I look at certain things, like I've always been a strong believer that there are 3 sides to every single story, right? There's this party side, there's that party side, and then there's the truth, okay? But the thing is that I feel like that the Buffalo Bills made the right move, like at this point, because sure, yes, there have been cases before where stories against the player have been fabricated. Most notably, I would probably say the Duke lacrosse team, right? Totally ruined these guys' careers, their lives, etc. It turned out that that story was fabricated. Same thing with that offensive lineman. I always forget his name, but he was outside of Baylor. He's been trying to get into the NFL for the longest time. Story was fabricated. But when I look at just how gruesome some of these details are, my number one thought process is how mentally ill could somebody be to make up a story like that, right? So I'm leaning toward, and trust me, like, I think that there's nothing more toxic on the face of the planet than the court of public opinion, because we weren't there. We don't know what happened. And it's something that I feel that like needs to be treaded carefully on from that perspective. I think the Bills made the absolute right move, because even if a shred of that is right? I mean, first off, he did admit to sleeping with an underage girl. Ladies and gentlemen, that is illegal. Statutory. I'm not going to say that word on the stream because your boy got to pay the bills. But when it comes down into it, I think the Bills did end up making the right move. Whether or not that he did it or whether or not that he didn't, I hope that the punishment is equal regardless of who is at fault, whether or not that he did it or whether or not that girl fabricated the story. So it sucks. It really, really does. And I thought it might be interesting to hear a little bit about what this team has to think about it. And I ended up pulling up a couple of videos. I'm not sure if you saw Deion Dawkins discuss this, but let's see how the Bills are taking care of this so far.
It's done. It's not affecting us. We're on to the next. You know, it's done. It's not here. It's not a problem. It's done.
As a team leader, how did you navigate the last 4 days or whatever with communicating with the team, expressing your opinions, your everything like that? How did that all?
Yeah, it's more so just control what you can. Like, we're not law enforcement officers, we're not judges, we're not lawyers. Like, we don't deal with any of that stuff. We try to just focus on ball. Focusing on ball is already more than enough for us to handle. And then we have our families to handle, and we got our kids, and we have our managers and our marketing and all this stuff. Like, we're a group of men that have realized that we can only control what and we can. And we simply are just worrying about us. Like, we understand with the situation, coach.
So it seems like when it comes down to it, that the team is really just trying to bounce back as much as humanly possible, right, guys? So it has to be tough. I mean, honestly, when it comes down into any locker room, if you have such heinous accusations against one of your teammates, it's gonna have a negative effect on the overall mentality. So there's nothing more that I wish that we can go out ahead and just get over this. But once again, really, like, not to make light of this very serious situation, one thing I will say is the Buffalo Bills, do we even really need a punter? Do we even really need a punter? Okay. It's just good, man. Honestly, like, I thought it was weird that we ended up taking a punter in the draft when I'm pretty sure we were bottom of the league for overall attempted punts, like, in the absolute first place. So I think that whoever we decide to bring on, I saw that we are very interested in, man, I forget his name, but he grew up in Grand Island, all-pro punter. Scrolling up, Kearns, who could be a possibility. He might be a little expensive, though, just due to his rap sheet. I saw Marquette King as well, who I have been a massive fan of ever since he was with the Raiders that 1 year, and then like a few other tryouts. But I have full confidence that with Bean, he's going to make this happen. He's going to find somebody to help us out once we do end up getting into some of those situations. And then that's just, yeah. I mean, that's really like my overall thought process. I hate that had to plague the Bills locker room, especially in front of a season that is so highly anticipated, that we had to go through with that. So whatever happens, I'm just glad that he's no longer on this team. I really, really am. So, yeah. So, I mean, that's really my thoughts right there on the Araiza situation. I'm going to go ahead and hit this live chat real fast. We're going to have like a couple Q&As, and then we're going to switch over to Beasley, dog, the toothless wonder. Let's see what's going on. Shum. And so Caden came in and said that Jake Shum is also somebody that would be that he would love to see in a Bills uniform. He is from Buffalo as well. Sounds like that we just absolutely breed punters in Western New York. I honestly think that the hype around him is exclusively that he lives in Buffalo. His time in the NFL really wasn't that ecstatic, really wasn't that exciting statistically wise. But I mean, say that he can get the job and say that he's better than Matt Hawk, then I think that that's just, yeah. So we're going to have to, Sam Martin's available as well. Yeah, dude. Like punters are definitely a lot of possibility. A lot of bring on Pele. It's my Uncle Jim right there. It's my Uncle Jim. He's the man. He absolutely got me this sick ass Bills Mafia hat that's over there. But what's going on, Uncle Jim? Hope all is well. Hope all is well. Mike comes in and says, as much as the Bills punt, you really just need a good holder for kicking. 1,000%. 1,000%. That was half of the reason why so Matt ended up winning the job that he held for 2 days before it turned out that he was an absolute scumbag, allegedly. So, yeah. I mean, as long as it translates into points, then that's just really how it's just going to have to happen. So, yeah, guys. So those are my thoughts on Matt Araiza. Next segment, we are going into Cole Beasley. Okay. Now, if any of you guys watched the Joe Rogan and the Aaron Rodgers interview, he basically went into his distest of how the NFL handled the overall, let's just say, process here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up that clip. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up that clip for everybody, and then we're just going to sort of get it like a brief idea of what was said, and then we're going to dive into exactly what Cole Beasley ended up saying. So, Chrome tab. There you go. Awesome. All right. So in case you guys didn't see this just came out with Joe Rogan about a couple of days ago, and Aaron Rodgers just sort of highlighted a lot of the things that really resonated with the overall Cole Beasley narrative last year. So I just want to play this real quick just to give some sort of context right before we dive into the takes.
They didn't give a fuck. You want to play football? Take this fucking thing. And I want you to do it publicly so that I can get more money out of those other people that are thinking about it and they're on the fence.
Yeah, and then we're going to virtue signal to say, look how righteous our league is. We have 95% compliance with the vaccine.
Compliance.
And if you don't, we're going to send a stooge to your team to show you graphs of your vaccination percentage of your team compared to the rest of the league, which actually happened.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the stooge like?
Oh, I mopped the floor with them.
Did you?
Yeah. See, again, that's why people are like, no one knew your vaccination status. You lied to your teammates. No. Day 3 of training camp, they sent this stooge in, and he showed these slides about what your vaccination percentage was in your team, where you compare to the rest of the league. And I started asking him questions about liability. Oh, I'm not a lawyer. Okay, cool. But you're in here talking about all these different things, and you don't talk about anybody's personal health issues. There's 0 exemptions. You took out religious exemptions. You took out PEG exemptions. You took out anybody's ability to have an opinion. Oh, I don't want to do this. Yeah. Well, it's not only going to affect your day-to-day status on the team, but your ability to get a job, your ability to keep a job, your ability to get a tryout if you get cut from this team, because you want to put a percentage above 90% of your team where you guys can have some sort of like special virtue. Like, look how amazing we are. We're above the 90% threshold here.
And then
they scared teams and said, if you had an outbreak caused by a non-vaccinated player, you not only forfeit that game if you had enough players out, but you wouldn't get paid for that week. And here I am showing up to training camp, Joe, the first day, and we got 5 people who work for the organization out with COVID, all fully vaxxed. And I got COVID from a fully vaxxed individual who only got vaxxed to keep his potential of being a part of the NFL.
Yeah. So for further context, that's that interview has also been circulating in the media, right? Because now several players that sort of started feeling like, hey, listen, like I only got this because I was afraid I was going to lose my job. We all know that that narrative was very tied closely to Cole Beasley. And in my opinion, I think that that's why he is no longer on the Buffalo Bills. It's also because he doesn't have a job right now. It has nothing to do with his ability to play football. I still can go out and say that he's still probably a top 5 NFL receiver. I think that he is going to find a job, but that's basically what triggered this tweet that came out, which is why so many people in Bills Mafia and so many people in the NFL are absolutely reeling, right? Now, some people are on this side, some people are on that side, but right as you can see, it says, same stooge came to the Bills along with Bruce Smith, telling us we didn't care about winning or our teammates if we didn't get the vax. And I didn't get COVID until the NFL stopped testing all the vax players because they all were getting it. They all were getting it. Okay, so basically why everyone was absolutely pissed off, right? And I mean, this guy absolutely ended up getting roasted, Bills Mafia, random NFL fans. But what it seems like is that the stooge that he was referring to was Bruce Smith. And I mean, he ended up going on an absolute tirade. In fact, let's just go through like Beasley's tweets that went through it here. Yeah, I mean, this right here, for example, let me go ahead and just add this back to the stream real fast. This was your go-to route in Dallas. You would change the tempo every time, but put me on my ass in one time. That was their route, and that shit got hard. Oh, okay, never mind. That was a lighthearted tweet. But I mean, like always, this guy just goes through a bunch of different Twitter arguments, etc. He's sort of trying to make himself look better, right? So very interesting to hear what y'all's thoughts are on that situation. I think that he will end up getting a job, but I think the basis of the fact that the reason he doesn't have it is exclusively why that is the case. Really, really interested to hear what you guys have to think about that situation. Nick C says top 5 on a roster at Miami Sports. Is Miami Sports Fanatic Show? I said a top 5 slot receiver. That's not a ridiculous take. That is not a ridiculous take at all. I still think that Cole Beasley is a top 5 slot receiver in the league. He's getting older. And I mean, you do need to understand that like he basically played with like a broken rib last year. Still was very productive. The year before he had like some other injury out there and was still like super productive. Really, when it comes to Beasley, we need to acknowledge the fact that he was an absolute huge contributor to Josh Allen's progression his first couple of years in the league. I think without Beasley, without John Brown, I feel like that we wouldn't have seen that progression from Josh Allen because he was like almost automatic, right? I forgot who coined it. It was one Bills creator. He said, oh, it's 3rd and Cole, because for the longest time, Beasley, and this was prior to Diggs, that was his go-to right then and there. So, I mean, he's a great football player, but seems like that the drama that he brings into locker rooms is just too much. But I'm still thinking that he does find a team. I really think that he'll find a team at the end of the day. There's really nothing else that we could like really think about. We got Aaron coming in saying, and so I like Beasley and even more after he stood up for himself. And I thought less of Bills Mafia for ganging up on him. I mean, it's the internet, right? It's the internet. And so people will bully someone on the internet faster than you can say 3rd and Cole. Yeah. And so the Pokemon professor, he said, Cole bailed out Allen many times. He sure did. Like I said, he was the go-to massive contributor to his progression. Absolutely massive. Mark's coming in. He's mentioning my boy TD. With TD is going to be having a heyday with the Araiza stuff come Wednesday, the round table. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, honestly, he's not on the team anymore. right? He's not on the team. I think the Bills made the right move of letting him go. I really, really do. Now, as far as timing, that is, that's another question, but oh well. Last thing on the Cole thing, and then we're going to go ahead. We're going to switch over, baby. We're going to start looking at the roster. Okay, we're going to start looking over at the roster and start having a group conversation after this. He said Cole was not a bad person. He had an unpopular opinion that's not allowed on the internet. Fair take. Fair take. I definitely would have to agree with that. Okay, so as many of you know, the Buffalo Bills need to be down to 53 men on the roster spot by tomorrow at 4 p.m. EST. As of right now, only a handful have been cut so far. Not unless I missed anything else on Twitter. I literally have Twitter just pulled up on one of these tabs, and I'm consistently refreshing this to see if there's been any other moves. But this is where it stands. I ended up pulling an article from Buffalo Rumblings. I'm sure each and every single one of you follows these guys. If you are a Bills fan, if you don't, then I really don't know what to tell you because they put out some really good stuff. This is based off of a Rumblings article right there. It is their roster cuts tracker right within 2022. And then we're going to go on ahead and scroll down and figure out where all of these players ended up getting cut. And then we're going to look at the overall roster of where it stands right now, right? I mean, literally this could change while we're on stream at this point, but I'm sure we all ended up seeing this news. These names right here, like with Jacob, with Daniel Joseph, with Tanner Owen, Jordan Miller, Neil Powell, and Josh Thomas. I think that even a casual Buffalo Bills fan would be able to look at that list of cuts that went down this morning and would not have been surprised to the slightest. It's a very competitive team, right? It's a very, very competitive team at this point. And then I think that none of these were a surprise. And normally the first couple of cuts, you're not going to see any shockers, which is something I always like to point out. But this is where we're at. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some names and pick out some names where I think might be a surprise or like who I think is for sure going to get cut. Now, okay, with quarterbacks, this right here, I think Matt Barkley is not going to make this team. Okay. I don't think that Matt Barkley is going to make this team. Love him. I think that he is a great culture fit for the Buffalo Bills locker room, but I feel like Case Keenum has just had more experience in not only the playoffs, but also being a starter and winning games. Case Keenum, yes, he's been hot and cold when it's come down to his overall preseason performances. Second game was pretty good. First and last, not so much. But I just don't see the Buffalo Bills keeping room for three quarterbacks on this roster. If they do, I will be absolutely dumbfounded. But I could see him being like a practice squad guy, or maybe we end up releasing him and he'll be able to find a backup job somewhere else that has a much more needy QB situation. So Matt Barkley, I can definitely see not making this. Huge fan of his punts, though. Huge fan of his punts. I mean, if your third string quarterback can boot off a 50-yard punt, that's just something that you need to, it's just something that like you need to be proud of. Barkley, you will forever be in my heart. Norm, $5 donation, man. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. Dan, what do you think of keeping Barkley as the punter? Norm, dude, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think we might save some money. On that aspect. No, I think that it's fun, like having Matt Barkley be out there, like during the preseason, and like all of us being like, oh, hell yeah, Barkley, man. He's knocking off, like 40 to 50-yard punts. Like that's all like fun and games, but how consistent will he be like as a regular season punter? We think it's funny like during the preseason, but I guarantee you everybody in this chat would be wanting his head if he muffed just one or two like in a regular season game. Like imagine if like the game is like super close and we're confident that the Bills defense can shut down Stafford and the Rams first game of the season. But then for some reason, we just end up getting stopped at our own 30. And then Matt Barkley goes out there and just muffs one for like 15, 20 yards. I think that while it's a fun idea, I just don't foresee it. But Norm, dude, once again, thank you so much for the donation, man. I really appreciate that. Helps out the channel significantly. You are the man. You are the man. Running back. Okay, there's something I did want to share. There's something I definitely wanted to share with everybody real fast, okay? Now, I'm sure some of you have been seeing, hey, so I've heard that the Buffalo Bills are very interested in trading Zach Moss, right? He has been somebody that has been a huge candidate for a Buffalo Bills potential trade. Him and OJ Howard, I would say, are probably like the two names that have been being bounced around the most. But I thought you guys might find this interesting to take a look at, because this guy ended up completely just shattering, like, I wouldn't say all of our dreams, but our expectations right over there. So when it came down to it, a lot of people were thinking, hey, Zach Moss is going to be traded, just because what we wanted to do is we just simply wanted to audition him for some running back needy teams during this preseason, since we ended up drafting James Cook. And with Devin Singletary, he's still going to be our number one. Zach Moss just really hasn't been able to produce during the regular season when we needed him to. But looks like Aaron Wilson said that the Buffalo Bills are not interested in trading running back Zach Moss, and odds of trading him are at a 0 per a league source. So it begs the question, right? I don't foresee the Buffalo Bills wanting to have 6 running backs on this squad. I really don't want to see the Buffalo Bills having 6 running backs on this squad. I would much rather see 7 receivers. I know that I've been a huge advocate for 6 receivers only, but our room is simply just absolutely too tough. So it seems like if this is true, and I mean, let's be honest with ourselves, has an NFL organization ever admitted when rumors of a trade were correct? No, of course not, because that would just be bad business at this point. But it seems like when you look at the rest of this roster, go ahead and share that other screen real fast. So we're back at it right there. Okay. So this whole situation with Zach Moss is probably going to destroy a lot of people's hopes and dreams for Raheem Blackshear. He's most likely going to be gone. See, I believe it was Anthony Marino. I think it was somebody else who said, yes, there were some bright spots from Raheem Blackshear during the preseason, but all in all, like on a surface level, he is a depth running back, which it's in the NFL, there is a copious amounts of this sort of talent. And in my opinion, the only way in hell that Raheem would have made this roster is as if Zach Moss were to get traded. So if the rumors are true, Zach Moss is making this team, right? Because we're not going to release him. We're definitely not going to release him, especially since, hey, he's still going to cost us a little bit of money. 3rd year, maybe we'll roll the dice. Maybe he'll be that goal line running back that we wanted him to be for this longest time. Singletary, 1,000%. One name that everybody always forgets, but he is a tremendous special teams player. He's not going anywhere. We have Tywan Jones. He's making this team 1,010%. These 3 are locks. And then, of course, James Cook, right? You are looking at our RB2 right here with James Cook. So the odd 2 out are going to be Duke Johnson and then Raheem Blackshear. These 2 are definitely going to be out. Reggie Gilliam, he's going to make this team. I wouldn't really consider this counting against the overall 4 names right there, but still 5. They typically list him as like a fullback or a running back / tight end. So that's where my head is at. And that was exclusively based off of the Zach Moss news. If, for example, the Bills were to trade Zach Moss, then I think the Bills probably would have just rolled with Singletary, Jones, same with Cook, and then Gilliam. That's it, exclusively. But I think with Zach Moss not being traded, I just don't really see a world where we would release him. I just feel like it doesn't make sense, like, at this point. So super, super interesting. Wide receivers. First off, so my uncle just came in and said, Dan, your house is on fire. Don't do that. Don't do that. It is not. Okay. All right. Wide receiver. This is where it gets interesting. You want to say hello?
Sure.
No? It's Courtney, y'all. It's my girlfriend.
Hi.
What's up, y'all? What's going on? I'm just sitting here. I'll probably be like 30, 40 minutes. And so she made me chicken wings earlier. There's no blue cheese in the house, though, y'all.
Oh, God.
There's no blue cheese in the house. Okay? But you know what? And did I have ranch? No, I didn't. I refused to. I refuse to. Okay, wide receiver. Now, this right here, this is going to be very difficult. In fact, I tried looking at this before I went live because I didn't know who in the hell that I would cut outside of some of the obvious names right here. And I mean, I probably wouldn't even say that really any of them at this point outside of Tanner. He's gone. There is no world where I see him making this squad. And then Stevenson. And so I think that really when it came down to it, I think that the drafts with players that we drafted in the past that got healthy, them coming back, I feel like that he was just the odd man out in that situation. I could see Stevenson making this practice squad. I could definitely see Stevenson making this practice squad. But I wouldn't be surprised if another team scoops him the second that we put him on a practice squad. He's a baller. I think that he has a bright future in the NFL. It's only his second year, but I see Stevenson being cut. That's for sure. I see Tanner Gentry being cut. That's for sure. Here are my questions. These are the three that I'm asking what the Bills are going to do. Okay. Isaiah Hodgins. I have been wanting this guy to be a contributor to this offense. Okay, first off, Spin's coming in and saying that we could put Stevenson on IR. Interesting. Very interesting. So I think that Isaiah Hodgins would be super interesting, right? He balled in the preseason. Some of the catches, I think it was Case Keenum went to him like 3 times in a row or something like that last game. He's fighting for a spot on that roster, and he's everything that he was advertised when we drafted him about 3 years ago or 2 years ago. Excuse me. I think he's making this team, dude. I really think he's making this team. Outside of Diggs and Gabe Davis and then Isaiah McKenzie, those are like the for shows, dude. Like they're making it. And same with Crowder. I see Crowder making this team. Maybe not. Let me back up here for a second. Okay, I think I may have switched up my entire process. Gabe Davis, Diggs are locks. Same with Isaiah McKenzie, lock. Now, here's my thought process on this, right? So we got the 3 locks right here. Jay Kumaro, while he didn't have a fantastic preseason, he is a massive contributor to special teams. I really don't see him not making this team. I really don't. Just with the ability and how much that the Buffalo Bills value good special teams play, I think Jay Kumaro is a lock. Okay? Now, you probably heard me say, hey, Jamison Crowder, he's a lock. I misspoke because you want to know why? This guy right here. Shakir. We ended up putting draft capital on this guy and he absolutely delivered. He absolutely delivered. I think that Shakir, because of his performance in the preseason, due to his youth, this is going to be the reason why Jamison Crowder gets cut. This is the reason why Crowder gets cut, because we have Isaiah McKenzie, who is 100% capable of working out of the slot, and we have Shakir, who is 100% capable as long as he can polish up some rookie mistakes that might come in here and there. I feel like that right there, that draft pick, and based off of Shakir's performance, that has completely wiped out Crowder's opportunity of getting it. So I'm going to say that with Crowder, he's going to be cut. Definitely Tanner Gentry. Stevenson, he could be on the IR, but I'm not sure if that they would waste an IR spot for that, especially just due to everything else. So here's my wide receiver roster option. We got Shakir. We have Isaiah McKenzie. It's 2. We have Kumaro, 3. Isaiah Hodgins, 4. Stephon Diggs, 5. Gabe Davis, 6. So I lied. So we are keeping it at 6 receivers. 6 receivers. If we were to elect to go to 7, it would probably be Crowder, but historically, I just don't really see the Buffalo Bills really keeping 7 receivers at this point. It doesn't make sense, right? So that's it. Let me know in the comments if you guys disagree, but I think that that's basically a lock at this point. Basically a lock. Okay, we got the tight end room. And so I see that they traded OJ Howard. I didn't see any news. I think that they might just be predicting. I think they might be maybe predicting. Let me just double check. Make sure that I didn't miss anything. OJ Howard. Let's see. Okay. No, I think that they were just speaking at what they think is going to happen. Okay. So with OJ Howard, we have Sweeney, and then we have Quentin Morris. Now, there has been rumors as well that they're thinking about trading for OJ Howard. I think that he had to take some time to adjust, right? He had to take some time to make the adjustments right to the Buffalo Bills offense. When he was in Tampa Bay, largely he was used not quite as often as the Bills are currently using him right within this preseason. I think it's going to take some time for him to adjust. I still think that it was a great move trading for him. I think that he's going to make this team. As far as Tommy Sweeney and Quentin Morris, though, I see both of them being cut. I really don't see any benefit of not having Howard on this team, just because he's a great blocker. He's a great blocker, and he has shown, he has shown his ability to be a weapon in the passing game. I think that he just had a little bit of rust that needed to be knocked off. I think that OJ Howard's going to stay, and then obviously with Dawson Knox, he's going to be there. But I'm seeing Tommy Sweeney and Quentin Morris being cut from this team right over there. Got it. Okay, so then when it comes down into offensive tackle, I would probably have to say that these 4 are making this team, and then I'm seeing with Alec Anderson and then Luke Tenuta, I could see both of them being gone. I really like what David has been doing so far this preseason. I think that that's pretty much a really good lock right there. Spencer Brown, same with Deion Dawkins, Doyle, and then Barry right over there. Then it comes down into interior offensive line. Ryan Bates, we ended up going to all that trouble and matching his salary from the Chicago Bears. He's an absolute lock. This guy, Bobby Hart. I feel like a lot of us remember Bobby Hart because anytime that his name was mentioned, we all about had a heart attack thinking that he was responsible for Josh Allen. Okay, but from what we have seen in the preseason, looks like he may have improved. Okay, I'm not sure if he pulled a Space Jam or something like that, and he stole some other offensive lineman's powers during the offseason, and then he seemed to be relatively solid. He could very well make this team. I'm not going to lie to you. I think that he's made an improvement. Same with Sean McDermott. Same with Brandon Beane. they like staying loyal right to their guys. So I think that he very well could. As far as a for sure cut off of this, I could see Van Roten being cut. And then Greg Manx as well. I could see that going from there. Let me know what you got there. All right. This is also, I would say, probably something that's going to be a bit of not necessarily, definitely not for defensive tackle. Definitely not for defensive tackle. And granted, guys, I'm not predicting my 53 man. Like, I'm just like going through like for sure cuts right here. Okay. These three, let's just go and get these out of the way. Let's just go through and get these out of the way. These three are not going anywhere. In fact, I am very, very, very excited. Very excited to see these three play, especially Settle. He's an absolute boss, dude. He's an absolute boss. He's been killing it. Like the true, what Star should have been for us for the longest time, that's what Tim Settle is. That's who Tim Settle is. One tech defensive tackle, absolute stud. Some of the highlights you've seen, absolutely just ripping that fool, ripping those offensive linemen like it was nothing. That's the true one tech that we need. He's not going anywhere. Same with Jordan Phillips. I think that he did wonderful in the Bills defense last time he was with us. And then Ed Oliver, who I am going to go out and say that I believe this man is about to have an absolute breakout season, Pro Bowl, perhaps even All-Pro. Perhaps even All-Pro. Perhaps. These three locks. Jones, I would say, is a lock. Jones, I would definitely say, is going to be a lock on the defensive tackle side of things. And then maybe Brandon Bryant. Maybe. So I'd say it's between Brewer. I'd say it's between Prince and then Eli. Right over there about whether or not that those would be it. But, I mean, then again, who knows, right? And so we're just fans over here. Like, I'm just a Bills fan who likes to drink beer and, you know, sort of talk shit with my homies online. So, but that's what I'm thinking for the defensive tackle side of things. Let me know. Yeah, for sure. With Daquan Jones, for sure. These four locks, these four, I'm going to be very interested to see. All right. Next up with the defensive end. This is where I'm at. This is, in my opinion, a hell of a lot easier. Definitely Greg Rousseau and Vol Miller. No doubt in my mind. Shaq Lawson, lock. 3 locks right there. And then with AJ Epinesa and then Boogie Basham, completely gone. I'm going to say that Kingsley Jonathan is probably going to be released or onto the practice squad. And then Mike Love, which seems like for one of the many preseasons in a row where he was gone. But I think that with defensive end, that's a lot easier to predict than most. I think that that's it. I am very excited to see what our defensive ends do this year. It's about to be absolutely disgusting. It is about to be absolutely disgusting this year. I'm ready for it. I am definitely ready for it right from there. Okay, linebacker. Now, with Edmonds, for the love of God, I'm really hoping, okay, this is off topic. I am really hoping that Edmonds finally takes his step this year. I feel like he has no excuse not to. I really feel like he has no excuse not to, because everybody that has an argument for Tremaine Edmonds, they always revert to the fact that our defensive line didn't hold enough. And by the time that Edmonds was trying to make a play, that the offensive line had already broken through, limiting his ability. This year, Edmonds has no excuse. This year, Tremaine Edmonds has no excuse. He needs to. He absolutely needs to. And I literally think that say that he can't perform the way that we expected him to when we drafted him with the defensive line that we have right now, then I think we can initially say that he was a bust. But I have full faith in him. I think that he has all the tools that he needs. And I think he's going to do great. I really, really do. Matt Milano, that's a no-brainer right over there. And then same with Tyler Matakovich as well. He's going to be the guy. He is great on special teams. The front office and coaching staff absolutely love him. He's going to be a lock going into it. And then I think Terrell Dotson as well. With, with Bernard and then Balin Spector. I know that we ended up, he's a new guy. Maybe him, maybe, but those 4 locks for sure. And then with Giles Harris, gone. Same with Bernard, gone. Balin Spector, he really hadn't impressed. I don't know. We'll see what's going on. Cornerback. Okay. This right here is also a pretty stacked room. A very, very stacked room when it comes to any NFL roster. Definitely Alam. We drafted him right in the first round, 1,000%. Definitely Taron Johnson, one of the best slot corners in the league. Slept on heavy. Definitely Trey White. That's a no-brainer. That doesn't require much analysis in that point. Ciaran Neal, absolutely. He's been on the Bills for quite some time. He's a great on special teams. And the Buffalo Bills are definitely not going to get rid of him right there. So we got Trey White. We got Ciaran Neal. We got Taron Johnson. We got Elam. Benford has been a stud. Benford has been an absolute stud. If anybody earned a position on the Buffalo Bills this offseason, this preseason, it was Benford. If anybody on this team earned a spot, it was Benford. And if he does not make this team, I will be absolutely shocked. If that goes through with it. Dane Jackson I can see, but the only reason I would see Dane Jackson making it is as if Trey White is still going to be out for a couple of games. It's kind of my thoughts. Nick McLeod I see being gone, and then same with Cam Lewis. Those 2 gone, and then maybe Ingram as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Makes sense to me. Let me know if you guys are ready to just whoop my ass for not knowing what I'm talking about. I'm here. These 4 right here, safeties. We basically made all the cuts right to that department as we could. We basically ended up making all the cuts, which was Josh Thomas. These 4 are locks. I mean, you have DeMar Hamlin, you have Micah Hyde, you have Taquan Johnson, and Jordan Poyer. I don't like the depth in the safety room. I'm not going to lie to you, especially since both of our safeties ended up getting a bit touched up and messed up during the right during the preseason. I don't like our depth. I really, really don't. But let's just go on ahead and hope that there's 0 injury scares when it comes into the safety. And then we'll go from there. And then finally with specialists, I mean, it just goes without saying, we got Tyler Bass and Reed Ferguson. And then obviously we know what happened to this dude. So now we just need to go ahead and find a punter, which we were discussing a bit earlier on in the stream. So I don't know. So, I mean, that was like my for sure cuts for the Buffalo Bills, guys. I'm going to go ahead and open up the live chat for any questions that we could really start digging into. Once again, so I'm starting this new thing this year on my channel that I'm going to start bringing fans onto this show. If you wanted to ask me a question or if you just wanted to hear my insight, literally on the stream, you would be on your phone, you would be on your computer, etc. I'm opening that up to every single Patreon contributor that I have. If you're interested in that, then you can see the link that's pinned at the top of this live chat. You can come on and then we can sort of discuss any topic that we just ended up going over. And yeah, super fun. So if you are interested, you can check out that link. And if you do join, then you will see my StreamYard link right there where you can go ahead and click, and then I'll see you in my waiting room and I'll let you in. But other than that, we'll go on ahead and then we're going to hit a little bit of the live chat right over here. Spin is coming in and saying Dane Jackson is a lock. There is no debate with Jackson. Got it. Okay. He is a Dane Jackson stan. I agree, man. I really do. I think that he's earned a spot on this team. I think that he is going to be a massive contributor, especially if Trey White doesn't decide or whether or not that the organization does not decide to try and bring him back or rush him back early. Yeah, most definitely. I think he has plenty of experience on this team. I would be prone to agreeing with you on that. 711 Bogdan comes in. Cooper Kupp is going to roast us unless we double team him. So that's definitely going to be interesting. I'm really curious to see what McDermott and the coaching staff have in plan for that offense. Because, I mean, not only do they have Cooper Kupp, now they ended up getting Allen Robinson as well, who, in my opinion, is one of the best receivers in the entire league, but he was just with the Bears, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how we can like really stack up, especially with our secondary. I think it's helpful. That we have the best safety tandem in the league. I love the fact that we run a lot of zone. So I'm really interested to see how Leslie Frazier and McDermott can go on ahead and sort of scheme against that. But we'll see how it plays out. Like, I mean, I just think that the Bills are a better team than the Rams. I thought that last year. And if the Buffalo Bills were to get the coin toss right, if Josh Allen were to call heads, I feel like that we would have been raising the Lombardi that year. That's how confident, and I will die on that hill. I will die on that hill. Zay is coming in and saying that Stevenson is a great returner. Yeah, he definitely is. But I feel like you just run into issues where like our receiving room as is probably the most competitive in the entire roster right now. I mean, I feel like that it's impossible for everybody on earth to be happy with that room. I think we just need to end up trusting the coaching staff to make the right decision, but it's really hard for me to see a spot for Stevenson on this team, especially compared to how much we have right now, which is, it's crazy. Caden's come in and says, is uploads every day during this season? My friend, this is what I'm doing this season, okay? I'm thinking about going live, structuring shows like this. Several topics scheduled out, screen shares, reacting to dumb tweets, some NFL memes, literally like an power hour show. And then what I'll do is I'll sort of clip them out and segment them for anybody that just wants to watch a clip. I'm going to be very, very consistent, but I'm experimenting with something this season where all of my content is exclusively about to be live rather than me having to edit videos. Y'all wait for stuff. But I mean, I have a very exciting season coming up. And I mean, if you guys are about that, sound off in the live stream. General rule of thumb is I'll probably be live 7 p.m. whenever I do go live, right? I'm going to try as much as humanly possible. So to go like at 7 p.m. when I have the ability to do so. But yeah, baby. Absolutely. I am back on the grind, ladies and gentlemen. Bills Maniac 210 is coming in and asking me this. He goes, who is your surprise cut? Surprise cut. Let me pull up the roster again. See, it was going to be Zach Moss for me. And so it was going to be Zach Moss for me. But I think that since we just denied that we were trading him, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I guess it would be Zach Moss. Like, say that if there was anybody that I could see it being reasonable, but at the same time, like, okay, that was surprising based off of, I don't know, like history. I'd say Zach Moss is probably a pretty good target right there. And let me look through some other things. And with Jamison Crowder. And so with Jamison Crowder would be a surprise cut for me as well. Just because I think that Shakir ended up earning that spot on this roster and then going from there. So I think OJ Howard could be something that would be surprising. See, I feel like that, like his veteranship and his ability to like do what he has done in the past just makes sense. I'm not going to ride home too much on a preseason performance. I think that he brings a lot to the table, and he was just adjusting to an entire different offense on the Buffalo Bills side of things. So we have Pat coming in and saying definitely Howard and Sweetie would be 2 surprise cuts. Super interesting there. Super interesting. We have Justin coming in and saying Howard could be trade bait, although he's our best run blocking tight end. I don't see him being cut. It's a great take, Justin. It's an absolute great take, especially because I know that a lot of us are absolutely thrilled with how our run game looked in the preseason. I mean, hell, was it the second game where like 6 different running backs like had like 5 or 6 touches and all ran for like 45 to 50? I feel like OJ Howard being traded, I feel like him not being utilized and being released really would not work with what the Buffalo Bills are trying to do with Ken Dorsey's new vision of the offense. So I don't know, but I think I'm going to stick to my guns and say Crowder or Zach Moss is my surprise cut. Bills Maniac 210. Run the damn ball. Run the damn ball. It's true. That's true. When I first started YouTube for the Buffalo Bills, that's when we actually had a pretty good like run game. And like I was always beating the table, run the damn ball. But then the past couple of years, I don't know. The past couple of years it just sort of switched up at the end of Oh, dude, by the way, I forgot. Okay. We got to go through this. We have to go through this right now. Because somebody in the live chat earlier tried telling me, so I knew this, but I'm just doing it for dramatic effect over here, is that Josh Allen is number 13 on the NFL top 100. How ridiculous is that? How absurd is that? Okay, now granted, listen, I know I'm a Bills fan. Okay, I'm not going to go on ahead and absolutely throw a fit because my favorite quarterback is not here. But we got to take a look. I'm pulling up the list right now. Okay. And then we're basically just going to roast everybody that was above him. And then I'll go on ahead and I'll give you my thoughts on why I kind of went down from that. But then again, I mean, this is one thing I always want to throw out there. I always want to throw it out there that they typically make this list about toward the third quarter of the season. It's finalized. Like once you're about 3 quarters into the season, like at this point. So that might be it. But it just doesn't make sense to me that he went down from last year. I know that he had a couple of off games, probably having to do with the fact that we had a very inconsistent offensive line. But this was absolutely disgusting. So let me go out ahead. Let me share this screen real fast so we can take a look. And we're going to go out ahead and just absolutely roast these fools. We are going to roast these fools thinking that they have the audacity to say that Josh Allen is not at least top 5, which he most clearly is. Okay. So there's our guy right over there, number 13. Absolute smack in the face. We have Derrick Henry here. Oh, yeah. See, the thing is that I feel like my only argument against this, as into why I think that he should be ranked above Derrick Henry at this point, is just because I feel like that a quarterback is so much more important to an offense than a running back. Now, this is sort of in a interesting situation because Derrick Henry is the most important player like on the Titans organization, and they build a team around this guy based off of the contribution that he has put out there. But I mean, I just think that Josh Allen is a lot more important to the Bills. This is a rough take. This is a very hard take, but I feel like that Josh Allen's contribution to the Bills, especially when you look at when he had absolutely nothing and it was just him, like think of the years, not necessarily his rookie year, but when it was John Brown and Beasley being his number like 1 and 2 receivers. I feel like Derrick Henry is great, but I feel like that Josh Allen has a lot more intangibles, and I'd probably rank him above Derrick Henry on that. I'm probably going to get roasted for this, but, you know, here we are. Myles Garrett, same thing. He's definitely a boss. Great great with the defensive end. And he's great at swinging helmets at craniums. But once again, I feel like that since he's on the defensive side of things, like, yes, he's going to make a couple of tackles like here and there. He's going to like hit quarterbacks for a loss 9 times out of 10 and really make a contribution on the defensive side of the ball. But when you're talking about a quarterback that literally has a hand in every single damn play, I feel like that there should be a like lower sort of threshold of positivity on this end. So I feel like that Josh Allen is definitely a lot better than Myles Garrett. Where are we going here? Going next? Oh, yeah, I got to go all the way up here. Okay, number 10. This is probably really going to upset me. What we got here? 10? Let's go. There you go. Okay. Next up with Travis Kelce. Definitely Josh Allen's above this guy. Jalen Ramsey. Just because Josh Allen absolutely torches this fool each and every single time that they have played. I can't wait for him to do it again. Pat Mahomes dropped quite a bit. I would say that this is probably one of the first players in Bills Mafia. Don't roast me for this, but as far as accolades are concerned, I would say Pat Mahomes is justified, but even I think that he's a little low right there. Same with Devontae Adams. I mean, I don't see it. Watts, yeah, maybe I could see that being justified. Jonathan Taylor, no, not quite. Cup, no, definitely not. Rodgers, yes, and so I could see that being justified. Definitely Aaron Donald. I could see that. And then this is the biggest joke in the face of the planet. This is the absolute biggest joke in the face of the planet that Tom Brady is number 1 in the NFL top 100. Listen, I understand he's the greatest of all time, but dude, seriously, as soon as when they dropped this as the number 1 player in the NFL, I knew that it was an absolute joke. So really my thought process is that with Josh Allen, he is hands down at least top 5. The lowest that he should have been on the list was 5. It's my piece. Ladies and gentlemen. All right. Well, hey, Dumb Mafia, listen, thank you for tuning in. I definitely appreciate you tuning in. We covered quite a few topics today. We discussed Matt Araiza, that whole very difficult conversation. We discussed Cole Beasley and his absolute Twitter tirade that he had, his Twitter meltdown about a podcast and the COVID protocols, why he doesn't have a job. We talked about the 53-man roster. We went through in like absolute for sure cuts, and then we just ended up going through that sorry excuse of an NFL top 100 talent list. So definitely appreciate you tuning in. I am going to go on ahead and I'm probably going to clip a couple of these videos and upload them in case you ever want to revisit them or if you want to share them with your friends, baby. The Dom Mafia is always open. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I'm going to go finish up those wings and hang out with my significant other. Love y'all, and we'll probably see you tomorrow. Doses.